Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review, or MCR for the cool kids. Either way, it is a nice, not too nice, March 18th. So hopefully you're not too hungover from your St. Patrick's Day festivities. But Michael and I are here to talk about all things Bluebeam and beyond, as always. So hope you're having a good day. And how are you doing today, Michael?
Good, good. We were just talking about my sunburn. I'm mending through that to train. I didn't go out last night. Did you?
Nope.
Yeah, we had a leadership meeting. A couple of our colleagues were saying that it's kind of tradition for them to go out, and I'm pretty sure Jason and I were the ones shaking our head. No, nope, nothing like that. So nothing for both of us. Did you eat any holiday food?
No. This isn't the first year in a long time where I haven't gone out for a Guinness and a corned beef, but I still enjoy it. I'll just get it later. I just figured
Yeah.
I beat the crowds, but um, haven't been in the mood to go out and about, and that's all good. But yeah, Caitlin knows what's up. Aldi's got some
Reuben
Reuben
bites.
bites. Yeah, Aldi,
Reuben bites. What's that? Like they're like mini Reubens?
kind of, yeah. Aldi always does really good stuff with seasonal fun things.
I like Reubens, but I think like the what is that? The corned beef soup, right? Is that what it is? What's the cabbage and whatever
Corned
soup?
beef and cabbage. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
flavorful for me. I don't know. I've had it a couple times. It's not my jam. Is it
Oh,
your
it's good
jam?
stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Uh,
I don't miss a whole lot of meals, if you know what I'm saying. So today we're going to talk about a bunch of different things, right? I wanted to start with this white paper trend thing that Bluebeam put on their website to download and was sent out, and then we're going to talk about Studio, Studio Prime, the differences between the two, and then we're going to get into the versions of Bluebeam Review. With some of the things that we've said over the past couple of weeks with Studio Prime and the end of life, people are freaking out a little bit.
I've
So we're
had a
gonna.
couple calls about that too. What like where's Studio Prime going? I thought we
Mhm.
had that conversation.
We did, but we're gonna
Okay.
put it all in one concise little episode. That way, you will have something to refer to. But we'll get to that point in a little bit. First, I kind of wanted to share this. Hopefully, I can share this and don't get in trouble. But then again, when has that ever stopped me? So, Bluebeam sent out a thing. I believe it was in an email where you can download this AEC Trend Outlook. And I thought it was interesting. I was going through it this morning, building the future Bluebeam AEC Technology Outlook for 2025. Now, other software companies do something similar, when it comes to um, putting out this type of information. But there was a couple tables on here I wanted to share, so bear with me as I zoom out. I should just go to my thumbnails and go find it. There's some really interesting charts. And there was one thing that I thought was a little funky, but it's basically going through their entire market area. North America, Europe, Middle East, Asia. And seeing if there's different trends in different areas. Right? We like this sort of technology and data, and it's talking about how much cost savings are going on and the building life cycle, and it's going through you know saving $100,000 to $500,000, or even $250,000. That's not bad. And Bluebeam can certainly help with that, and other technology solutions can help with that. But it's nice to see that that's finally getting some numbers behind it instead of like, oh, yeah, get Bluebeam, you'll save some time. Well, actually, you're going to save some money
I
too.
hate that they put BIM software.
I was wanting to bring this up to see if that would trigger something with you because it bugs me too.
Yeah.
Building information modeling software, right? Because some people that's a sin. Building information
It
modeling
is.
is a technology, is a process,
It's a process, yeah.
not necessarily a software, but um, it's in there nonetheless. But this isn't the one I wanted to share. The one, okay, AI, yeah, everybody's looking at AI, right? Um, the one I wanted to share was down here. Of course, I just went through it this morning, so I didn't, who's allocating budgets for AI. There we go. This is the one I wanted to share. All right, so I'm going to dismiss my thumbnails here. Challenges in technology adoption and digitization. This is something that Autodesk puts out Bluebeam's now put it out. A couple other companies have put it out. And these are things that we talk about with different firms, right? But this Bluebeam one actually has
What's the
lack
bottom
of
part say
training,
though? Sorry.
percentage,
Okay.
right? So this is the first one that puts this on top of the list. Lack of training or technical skills among staff. Like 32%, that's a big number. Integration issues, sure. Resistance to change, yeah, that's a big one too. We're dealing with a few of that with some of our clients as well, where, it's ripping the Band-Aid off. It's, making sure that we're explaining the why behind the change and not just because, hey, it's new and shiny. Technical issues and software bugs, this number should not be that big, y'all. Difficulty in keeping up with rapid technology trends. Well, if you're listening to this, you're not part of the 24%, right? Concerns about data privacy. Absolutely, it's a big deal.
I would have thought that would have been bigger, but
yeah. Lack of budget. I mean, that's in there, but some of the software that we're talking about, you have to have it. So it's not necessarily an investment as a continuing cost, especially in the subscription world. Regulatory or compliance changes, lack of suitable technology for our needs. So this is really interesting. What 18% is missing out there? Like, what do you not have? Is it AI? Is it, automatic toasters?
I would almost equate that to a two-part system where the solution doesn't fully do what they need to do. Right? Lack of suitability technology solutions for our needs. So I think it's more like integrations. A lot of people want to do a one size fits all, like one solution that does everything. And people are really rushing to get that complete. But I think we have such varying processes that there won't ever be like you just purchase this one solution and it does it all. Because there's the design side and the construction side. So anyways, yep.
But what I thought was interesting about this chart is not only all the categories here, but the top one, lack of training or technical skills among staff, and the bottom one, I'm leaving out other, lack of support or buy-in from leadership. These are 100% related, right? If you had buy-in from leadership that your team needs training and technical skills, both of these numbers would be drastically different. So if you're feeling that you're not getting the training that you need, if you feel like you're falling behind and you're having to watch MCR on your own time to get caught up, good for you. But a lot of that stuff needs to go back to leadership and say, hey, we really need to do this because of this, right? And these sorts of white papers and other digital marketing assets that are put out there are putting numbers and facts and dollars to what's going on out there. So if you're finding that you're trying to get training for your team and you're like, well, we're not getting it, go download this thing. Show them the case studies. While a lot of this, of course, is going to skew towards Bluebeam. I can't blame them. That's a cool picture. But it's also got some stuff that may help, guide other things. Autodesk has a great one for the design and make that they put out every year. That's like 100 pages and something. Really cool read too, because it's kind of giving you an insight of what's going on. So I thought this was cool. Go download it. I think it came out in the email yesterday, or it's on their website. I'll see if I can find a link to it, and I'll put it on the our LinkedIn group. But wanted to share that real quick. And
I didn't get that.
Then I got to figure out where I found it then. But I wanted to talk about or use the remainder of our time to talk about the differences in the software and the differences with Studio, right? So a couple weeks ago, we talked about Bluebeam Studio Prime end of life. The problem with this conversation is that people tune out after you say Studio. So if I say Bluebeam Studio end of life, whoa, now we're going to panic. Bluebeam Studio Prime is a different story. So, what is the difference between Bluebeam Studio and Bluebeam Studio Prime?
They're two different solutions.
That's exactly it. They're two different solutions. Bluebeam Studio is an AWS, Amazon Web Service hosted cloud collaboration solution built into Review that comes with all levels of Review, which we're going to talk about the different levels here in a minute, which allows for different collaboration for file sharing, for working on the same PDF. Most firms are adopting it and loving it and using it every day. Bluebeam Studio is not going anywhere, as far as we know, for the foreseeable future, right?
It can't go away now. They've made that large investment into cloud, which is built on Studio.
Correct. Bluebeam Studio, Bluebeam Cloud, not Bluebeam Studio Cloud. Bluebeam Cloud enhances Bluebeam Studio, which allows you access to your collaboration platform from anywhere, your phone, tablet, anywhere you've got a web connection, right? So Bluebeam Studio is wonderful. It's not going anywhere. What is going somewhere is Bluebeam Studio Prime. Now, we've shown Prime a few times. We've talked about how great it is. We've told you how it's worth every penny. Well, soon it's not going to cost any more pennies, right? Bluebeam Studio Prime had two main functions. One was for integrations. So Ignite, Procore, other things, other integrations. Newforma, there we go. You could buy a subscription of Bluebeam Studio Prime and enable those integrations into your Bluebeam Studio, right? It was expensive, kind of silly if I'm just adding an integration, right?
It's split into two parts, yeah.
That's one part. The other part is user management. Now, we've talked about Bluebeam Studio being the wild, wild west, and that's still the case, right? If I'm collaborating on a project and I have access from anywhere, how do I make sure that I have the right people on the team? How do I make sure that somebody didn't set the security settings up right? There's so many different factors in there that, especially when you get somebody because whomever sets up the studio becomes the admin, right? So what if they go on vacation? Or what if they leave the company? How do you get that information back? How do you know who's in there? How do you know that account lists are getting uploaded? You need insight to the wild, wild west, which is what Bluebeam Studio Prime did. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it, that my magic number is if you've got more than 50 seats, you should probably have Bluebeam Studio Prime, right?
I think if you work on any government projects, you should have
Studio
Prime. Because you're just worried about data security, right? Mm-hmm. The issue with Studio right now, with a large amount of people adopting it, is that it's not FedRAMPed. So be aware of that. If you don't know, as a organization admin, what things your team members are uploading, you should probably have it, because anyone can upload any type of PDF they want into AWS servers.
Mm-hmm. And even on the project side, you can upload any type of file, basically. So BIM model drawings, right? being CAD files,
hilarious.
Spreadsheets, again, countless financial info. You don't know what's going up there. As much as we'd love to trust everybody in our organization, that's not always the case, right? Things get hacked, passwords get changed. It's the wild, wild west, right? So Bluebeam Studio Prime is the only way to avoid that now. Even if you get a hold of Bluebeam and say, hey, somebody went rogue on my session, it's going to take a week, 3 days at best. That's not enough time to react, right? So Bluebeam Studio Prime is totally different from Bluebeam Studio. Now, the end of life, the end of this year. So New Year's Eve, it's going to shut down. Bluebeam Studio Prime will no longer be accessible. What they're doing is, if you have Bluebeam Studio Prime, you will not be able to renew it past New Year's Eve. right? So if you've got a renewal coming up this month, it's going to be prorated until the end of the year, right? You can't buy it new after a certain date. I should have looked that up, but
yeah, there's an end of sale, I think,
yeah,
coming
the
in
end of sales
in
coming
in the summer.
Okay. But it's one of those things that I'm looking it up right now. I'm multitasking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it'll be end of sale, and then
Yeah.
basically then it'll hit end of life.
Yep, which
So
is a typical thing.
Yeah.
After June 30th. So as of June 30th, you won't be able to use your integrations if you have it. You won't be able to buy new Studio Prime. And Studio Prime will also move to end of support.
Yeah. So there was a question in there too, because the they moved the API connectors into a new platform. Now, I don't know what those will look like for their bigger partners, not us, partners meaning like Procore, Newforma, Ignite, those partners. Are they just going to switch those integrations or copy them over? Or is everyone going to lose the integrations and you automatically have to build from scratch? Because be aware, Bluebeam didn't build any of those connectors. Those third-party applications outside of Bluebeam's ecosystem built the connectors into Studio to work collaboratively with Studio.
Exactly.
So that's a question as well, since it's going to be open API, quote unquote. Nothing's ever fully open and free, everybody. But yeah, basically it'll be moved over into open API, and you can create connectors to that platform itself. So are they migrating them since it's a new governance essentially of APIs, or are they going to make everyone redevelop them? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? The API opening it up to everybody allows them to do whatever they want, but without putting a paywall on it. And that's the whole why behind all of this. Bluebeam realizes, like, okay, we've made Studio, we've made a monster, and now there's all these different other solutions, Ignite, Newforma, Procore, what have you. And those integration APIs exist, but there isn't one for the admin side. And their goal is they've released the API to allow anybody to provide a solution that is free. Free, there's always an asterisk on it, right? That free part takes away the paywall. And those words are what Bluebeam has said is the why. They don't think this should be hidden behind a paywall. They've probably made lots and lots of money off of those subscriptions over the years, but they realize for the greater good, they should probably take away the paywall. So that means from June, end of June to the end of this year, there's going to be a murky area where some of these integrations aren't going to work right. I don't know. I don't speak for any of the other integration partners, but it should be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. So basically, the Open API, I think it does one of two things as a company. Just like Autodesk, it allows people to innovate and integrate into other solutions, but it actually also opens up for acquisitions. You're seeing what people are doing, utilizing, and then you can just buy a product. You essentially let everyone be devs, develop great solutions, and then you look at metrics and you see if that's something you want to invest in. Just like Autodesk. That's literally what Autodesk does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully that clears up some confusion. Studio and Studio Prime are different. Studio that we all love isn't going anywhere. Studio Prime is. So be careful with the language. Make sure that you
didn't touch on, and you didn't touch on what's happening to the admin part.
What's happening to the admin part, Michael?
It is going into the admin portal. So basically it'll be that part of the platform. I truly haven't found anywhere. I'm assuming from word of mouth that it is not going to have a paywall to have access to it. But who knows? Maybe it's included in your licensure. Maybe they do it on when it 5% or yeah, no, I don't think they do 10% increase. When an increase happens in all of our subscriptions, who knows, right? But it'll be part of the platform, essentially through your admin portal. Now, I think this will be one of two great things. Hopefully, it automatically integrates with users, because before in Studio Prime, you had to manually add those users. Those users had to accept, which was kind of weird, but hopefully this integrates between there and alleviates the need to, you essentially couldn't have integrations when you had SSO. So since it's completely being separated, SSO will just be allowed to be adopted no matter what into the platform. And then your management of all of your studio sessions and projects and data in there will be in that platform. And then there's like another, I guess there's almost three parts, because there is automations. But I don't know if you would incorporate that into the API, or you just incorporate that into maybe Bluebeam is going to roll AI into the tools. So a lot of those automation key features were really built around your studio projects, studio sessions. So I feel like that's more API driven, and they probably looked at data of how many people are actually using these integrations to kind of figure that out. But either way, that's probably going to be either built into the solution to automate some of your startups on projects and sessions, or automate, encourage folks in industry like us to create the API connectors, create automations in the solution. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It's a little bit of a space race, especially if you open it up to, because it's a good promotion, right? If you make a killer API that's going to work and solve all the problems, then good for you. But hopefully that clears up some of that. It's going to make the admin life easier. It's going to make, subscription costs go down, hopefully. Maybe. Don't hold me to that. But, for the big firms who've been paying for Studio Prime, not having to pay for that anymore will affect the bottom line. That unlimited version and the bigger versions of that was really expensive. So as we get into the review differences here in a minute, I mean, we're talking substantially different numbers, right? So did you have the magic spreadsheet, or do you want me to pull up just the website?
I'm going to pull up the website and I'll do a comparison as we go through and look at things.
So while he's pulling that up, give a little bit of a why behind why we're having this conversation, right? We get calls all the time from not just our sales folks here at ATG, but from customers saying, "Well, I just need Bluebeam." Oh, it's not that simple. And depending on who you are, you're always looking at the cheapest version. And be like, man, that cheapest version is probably going to work for me. We're going to walk through why the cheapest version shouldn't be on your radar. Maybe, in my opinion.
Anytime I have a basic conversation,
oh boy.
Whenever I have a conversation around basics, that's so hilarious that it comes out that way. But anyways, every time I have a conversation around basic, it's more towards admins at the end of the day. So if you have admin users, like I just had a conversation with a firm that had, I don't know, we'll use a magical number so we don't really know who the firm was, but they had, 150 uses from an admin level, and then they had a design team. It's completely lopsided, but anyways, yeah, they were moving away from Adobe essentially, and DC Pro and DC, I think that's how, or just Adobe. Yeah. Anyways, basic would go to everyone else. Then you need to decide between your team members which core on the design side and complete licenses do you need. Admin users of review typically only need basic. Now that they used the OCR is in every single tier, right? Typically, it used to be in the past Extreme had OCR. It's in every tier now, which is optical character recognitions, which admins typically use to like search, highlight text because it's a raster-based image. So anyways, okay. So it's good. I have a video of this that's like 15 minutes long, but basically we'll go through exactly how I did in that video, step by step. So you have embedded 360 photos in the capture, which Basic cannot do, but Core and Complete can. So I'm not going to go step by step through things that are pretty much self-explanatory, but we will for ones, and I'll let Jason raise the flag and we'll go in. So 360 photos embedded, an admin wouldn't do that, but of course a designer would. So reiterating, Basic, Core, and Complete. Basic would be more for the admin user. Calibrate tool sets to dynamically resize on PDF. So you cannot do that as an admin, but you can do that in Core and Basic. Core and Complete. So basically these two, meaning scalable tool sets. So if you are dropping in tool sets that scale to the PDF size, meaning you have a set scale on the PDF, this will allow us to do that. Should I go in and show this? Or, as we kind of reiterated, Core and Complete. I think we're really where we need to go and show is the Core and Complete differences, but what do you think?
Nah, we'll see what the time says.
Okay. We'll go through, and then the next one is create and save markup legends and tool sets. Again, you should Basic, again, admins. Core should be the features you're in. So we're just going to skip all these, right? These are apply hatch patterns, create calibrated polygons, custom statuses. These are all things, again, reiterating Core, Designer, Basic, Admin. We're not going to be doing those things. Okay.
Right. And when we're talking admin, we're talking just the non-technical staff. Right? Yeah. Who's not dealing with drawings? Who's not dealing with models? Who's not dealing with construction documents? But who is dealing with specifications? Everything else you would use an 8.5 by 11 PDF for. It's perfect for all of that. Yeah. So different users.
Next one is going to be filter and sort markup and comments in the filter summary list. Report. So this is the key part because it's always confused us at the beginning. This is the report side. So whenever you're going through and making markups on a PDF, you can filter and sort natively, right? So if I go file and then we go, we'll just do this, import comments. So you can filter and sort natively down here in the markups list, but it's saying the report. So if I come here to PDF summary, if I didn't default filter and sort what I wanted to here, or also I have a config that I wanted to send out, studio wide or firm wide or company wide, I can't do this part right here in the report part, not in the markups list part. I'm not going to confuse anybody because it is almost one the same, but yes, in here you can't use the save and load config to export out. So that is a complete tier only. So that is hyper important to be aware of. Okay, moving on. Some more admin stuff, automatically create bookmarks and page labels. Now, I find this is against my term that I just said, which is surprising because I feel like in a non-designer, I would want to create bookmarks and page labels. So we'll show that. Maybe that's a differentiator between some folks. So bookmarks and page labels. So essentially when I go over here, you can see that these aren't labeled as pages. They're labeled with numbers. And there is no bookmarks here for me to jump through. So what is this feature? Basically, to automatically create these, you can add bookmarks, or you can come over here and create bookmarks by a region of data. So what I typically do is, here's the text, and then I do an underscore. Ooh, I do it the opposite way. We'll do an underscore, and we'll add another region of data, and then your number.
Lose your underscore?
It wouldn't let me
go backwards.
Co-place it. Yeah. So I guess you have to go. I thought I was outsmarting it, but apparently not. Okay. So, because that's what I wanted. I wanted number and then name. So right here, we'll delete this one that I just manually added. This will allow you to have bookmarks on your pages. And then you can do the same thing. You can create automatically page names from your bookmarks, but you could have done the same thing to create your page labels, right? So I'm going to do it from bookmarks, but the same thing, right? Boom.
So while that only took a couple clicks and that was 7 pages worth, imagine if you did have a 150-page document, right?
Yeah.
With the basic, you can do that manually, which would take a lot of time
Have fun.
to rip through 150 pages. That time is not free time, right? That's worth $100 a year to be able to do that whenever you want to do it. My 2 cents.
Yep. Markup 3D views. So again, if you're making, if you're viewing a 3D PDF, it creates a 2D view when you make a markup. So you can't mark up. You can view 3D PDFs all day. Just be aware of that. Next one is compare 2 or more PDF revisions with overlay pages. So be aware this is a command, but either way, you wouldn't be able to process colors if you did it manually with Snapshot. So overlay pages command you can't use. So coming back into here, you go to document, you can't overlay pages. Okay. The next one is color process, which is this ability, which is take everything that's black and make it red.
Pretty handy tool.
Cool. Back here. Create a markup. Again, these are all this admin side. Search for symbols with visual search. So admin wise, you can go through and search for let's see. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because my head's starting to itch now. Specs. So here we go. So basically from here, you can go through and search for text. So I could do this by text. That's not saying this part. What it is saying is visual search. So if I wanted to go and search visually for items on my PDF with an image, you won't be able to do that. So be aware, that's what this is saying. Visual, not text-based search, which makes sense. If I go back to my admin theme at the beginning, you can search for text, you can run OCR, but you can't visually search for an image. Perfect. Cool.
Yep.
Next up, measure PDFs with advanced measurements. So now we're finding out what Bluebeam quantifies as advanced, which is silly for some of these items because it's like
perimeter, volume, angle, count. Like count is an advanced one because how you use it, but I could see that one being more basic. I don't know.
Yeah, it's how they wanted to quantify core versus basic, right? Like advanced would be dynamic fill, but I think they needed to give you a differentiator between core and complete. As a Bluebeam creator or a Bluebeam differentiator, like I want to have this, so you're going to go to complete, but I'm okay with these. So they differentiated between advanced markups and this dynamic fill, which used to be the differentiator before. No, this is like your core, but in order for you to be, complete, in order for you to be in core, which is just a typical option, you need, if you're using perimeter, volume, angle, and count, which you wouldn't do from a basics level because admin, we're not going through and quantifying something. You would need to have core, right? So if you're running perimeters, lengths, right, you're going through and counting trim, or you're trying to get volume of earth or concrete, or even a volume of a wall, specifically to maybe do drywall. You could even do like paint. How much paint are we going to need for this area? Or an angle measurement. These things you cannot do with basic. Add formulas for custom calculations. So again, cost estimating is where I see this fitting into. So if you're trying to get any costs, you can actually do that manually here. Okay, so next one. Link real-time data from measurement markups to Excel. So I've showed this plenty of times. Doug has shown this as well. Doug does something a little bit different where he uses Power Query. But if you're essentially trying to, and this is like, we all wish they expanded the reach of the amount of data pools you can do. But anyways, Excel and quantity links means that I can link to measurement data live from my PDF. So a PDF, you have a measurement. I'm not going to go because this is like a full-fledged workflow. But essentially, if I come into here and make my measurement of flooring, and I wanted the square footage of this to dynamically link to Excel because I already have my cost formula in there. So if I wanted this square footage to dynamically link to Excel, which has all of my variables of cost and, you know, all that other stuff, I could link to this one cell of data for all of the pertaining measurements of carpet that I use. So as I'm doing this next markup, it would have added that 11 and some change square feet. Well, it's 10, I guess, into my Excel, right? So it would have added these two directly into Excel. If I came into here and changed the size, it would have dynamically updated that. So that's quantity link. Next one is dynamic fill, which I would use if I do a lot of estimating. I wouldn't want to have to manually do a lot of this process. So what I would do is use dynamic fill. So right here is dynamic fill. And what I can do is I can pour into here that data and apply. Right. Well,
You didn't tell it what to apply, but
I know. Yeah. I was waiting for you to say, Michael, come on. You lose your touch. But yeah, so basically from in here, I can go through and say, I want to apply footings. And this is going to be my new cubic feet of footings for this area, which is something you wouldn't have in this area. But
it's weird how I missed that corner.
Because I was like that. So probably didn't want to pour over yet.
It's not a perfect tool, but it can still save you time, right? 60% of the time it works all the time. But it is super handy. And I've done demos of this where, going through the differences, and folks will be like, yeah, add to cart. I can't live without that tool. It's worth that $100 a year, right? $100 a year is such a small amount when we're talking about the time that you're saving, right?
Yeah.
And the goal is to be more efficient. The goal is to get more out of the software that you're paying for, right?
Yeah, this would be an efficiency thing, right? Like you're not going to go manually click all these. I mean, some people do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is a big one. And I try making people aware of this. So basic is almost treated as a free tier when you operate in studio. Think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
This is everything you can do in studio with a free account. Well, except for this. But essentially, you're limited basic markup capabilities in studio by the free account, except same thing with like creating a new studio session or project. So if you were an admin, you could join a session to collaborate and markup. But if you're part of the design team and you need to create a session, you cannot with basics. So that's creating studio sessions and studio projects. You can join it all you want. You can mark up very lightly, but you cannot start one.
Now, let's go back to the comment about Bluebeam Basics being for an admin. Now, this is where I might want to have the admin running a whole project. I'm going to create the studio project, studio session, so everything's there for everybody. It's set up consistently. That way it's not just, it's Tom and Betty and Susie and whomever doing it for however they want, to have that dedicated resource who's setting these up. That's something that I would want.
So you would have somebody at the firm that has a core basic license, set it up, give permissions out to everybody, and then let them interact in there. So then I'm seeing what's part of that platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a smart way to do it, but obviously it doesn't happen that way because I just got to create it and get it going right now. But in a perfect world, if you had standards and processes and SOPs, man, have a dedicated resource for that.
100%. So this is funny. they call it integrations and plugins. So I'm wondering if this is going to expand along the way, but we'll talk about that when it finally does. That's my crystal ball right here. Once API is launched, I bet you this will expand. But anyways, okay. One-click PDF. Well, we're all the way here. So one-click 2D PDF creation and batch directly from AutoCAD, Revit, and SolidWorks. So if you're just adding it, it's the add-in. You can't have the add-in if you're in that basic tier, which I would assume that basic tier doesn't also have AutoCAD or Revit.
Right.
Same thing with here, 3D PDFs, which you can actually create from Revit and AutoCAD. So you might want to try that corridor again, Jason, to see if it works. And Novice works. Convert, of course, same thing. You don't have the add-in. These are all based on that add-in. Okay. Signatures. We get asked this so much, and I think it's because the industry's they're starting to mandate digital signatures as the new way of submitting. Bluebeam is always allowed for placing digital signatures on PDFs. You get that a lot too, Jason. I mean, we see it where they're. How long has Bluebeam done this digital signature? Always.
It's been a long time.
Alrighty. So automation. Here's another one. So there is one here for batch compare multiple drawing revisions. So this is just like overlay, but it's called compare. And what it does is it highlights differences. I think this will be great when they finally introduce true AI, which takes different areas. But I don't know how that would work for compare. Overlay would just copy a space. Compare how would it do that for specific zones? I don't know. Be cool to see that when that comes out. So here is a differentiator between core and complete, which is automatically create navigational hyperlinks. I did this the other day. So I have a structural set that was printed separately in Revit and then combined after. Why did I do that? To conveniently not include hyperlinks. I guess you could just check the box, but that's what I did. So essentially there's no hyperlinks to click on these to jump you to spaces. You can also do like the same thing for like a page index if you wanted. There's a lot of things you can do with this hyperlink feature, but you can do it manually. That is included one by one, or you can come over to here and do hyperlink new, and I can add my open files, and I'm just going to use this one, hit next, and then I'm going to select a region of data. I'm going to have review search on every single page in that spot for this number, and then create hyperlinks that reference to that page. So I'm going to generate, we'll give it a fill color so that you can all see it. It created 94 hyperlinks, and now you can jump to these pages. It would be like the same thing if you had a sheet number here. It would have indexed to those, just like it indexed to that part of the example for a section. So again, just being aware you have those options. Okay.
And that's, again, a massive time savings, not just in how long it takes to create them, but if you're on the receiving end of this file and you need to quickly jump over to S4.1, it's just there.
Yep.
It's super, super slick.
So that is that batch hyperlink feature. Next one is batch hyperlink. Okay, we got that. Automatically insert new pages. So this is slip sheeting. The ability to replace PDFs with other PDFs and using appended. Do we have? Yeah, we'll go through that workflow. Let me save the document because it overwrites essentially a file. So give me 1 second. Excuse me as I navigate to here. Bluebeam. Dude, my sunburn's starting to itch again, and it's gonna be a good day today. Sunscreen, everybody. It's important.
Respect the sun.
Mm-hmm. Slip sheet. Okay. So basically, what I was saying is that I have my original PDFs and I copy these over because it's going to oversave this PDF when you run Slipsheet. So I put it over here. So replace destination. Thank you. Basically, how this tool works is you open up your first PDF. Now, if I receive revisions, they're going to slip these revisions into the original PDF and save over that one. So I have an archive. So I can run this continuously, but maybe just so you're all aware, it's going to overwrite your original one. Does that make sense? Did I say that right? Okay. So we're going to go to batch slip sheet. I'm going to add those files. Of course, now I have to navigate to these. So here's this first one. Now here's my revision. Second one. Now you could do an advanced match by if you wanted by specific caricatures. You can do by file name, page label, index, page region, whatever you want. It's up to you. I'm going to hit match pages. You're not done after you hit match pages, so don't freak out. Right here, it basically says which pages it's decided to match by what criteria you showed before, and things that were unmatched. Essentially, this current file didn't have an update to S4.2. So everything else was updated. As you can see, the rev was those updated sheets and where they matched on the other ones. Now you have some options. Maybe on these original files, there was markups. So you can have it pull the markups over from this file to the new file. If you're doing that, I highly recommend flattening them before you create this, because if they're on the original one, you're gonna have two markups. Or just slipping them out and replacing them with these, because you don't want two of the same markups. But anyways, continuing on, you have that option to replace current pages with revised pages. We're going to insert pages so you can see the differences, and then copy markups from current pages to the revised pages. So if there's any markups, it'll copy the markup from here over to here. Unflatten markups before copy. So again, I would have flattened them and then move them over to here. Flatten markups after copy. Well, I guess you could do that where you flatten them after, but we're not. We're going to apply a stamp of superseded. I really wish if you check this, it had an advanced option so you can select a custom stamp for it.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So we'll hit OK. I'd just typically hit a create detailed report because it doesn't open it after you slip sheet, because it's saved over this one. So I'm going to click this open from here. So this is the start of the page. We'll do this lovely split screen. We'll make sure our document is not syncing. And as I scroll to the next page, this is the original one. This is the new one. You can see that I added slip sheet. That was the change that I did. We'll go to the next page. So this is the original one. This is the original one. This is the new one. So as you can see, there's definitely some changes in here. Again, showing that change. Superseded was the old one. This is the new one. I think there's one where I had a markup somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So S41. So here was the original one with just a markup on it, and it copied that over to here. So being aware. That's slip sheeting. Magic. Another one, magic. Next one is going to be applied digital signature and professional seals across. So this is batch sign and seal. So again, if you are using review to batch sign and seal, meaning if you're applying a signature with your seal, you're going to want to do this in batch. I don't even need to explain it. This is something you will want to do because you're not going to apply a digital signature on every single page manually. You just aren't. Pretty plain and simple there. You're going to want to use this feature that'll go through and seal and sign every single page with a digital signature. So that means if you're going to sign via digital signature with your seal, you need complete regardless, right? implementing scripting commands. Next one, creating. Well, I guess these are just create CSV. So you can't, as an admin, export out a CSV XML. Track and generate reports on markups located in the predefined regions. Track and generate reports on markups located in predefined customized regions. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a unique one. When we're making reports, can you select just a region? I know you can filter by column and content. Okay.
That's weird, right?
Time to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe when you do your report, if it asks for does it mean a page, or does it mean export as template? Interesting. Maybe it's just spaces. That could be it. Interesting choice of words, though. Sort, show all columns. Interesting. Add. Click on add right there underneath the files, because there's a drop down. Folders and subfolders. Okay, I didn't know if it was going to say add a region of page. Huh. Or maybe they mean custom range. Yeah, there's a couple different ways. That one's not worded ideally. But yeah.
It literally doesn't have a region of data.
Yeah. Predefined customized regions. So that sounds like spaces to me.
Yeah. That makes sense. That does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Predefined would be like spaces, markups in those spaces.
But before we move on to the next one, I want to go up. So generate and export XML or CSV of all markups in a file. This one would also apply to forms, wouldn't it? So if you're an admin,
you're not exporting out data, though.
But you can pull data from a form.
Well, I think this is saying markups, but yeah, I don't know. We'd have to test that. Yeah.
You can still export the form data even with basics?
I don't know.
Yeah, one of these days we need to get basics and try it. But the form, technically you're putting in a markup. That's a gray area.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's this comment, markup editor, collaborate in real time with markup tools on drawings and documents, which is so confusing. You can still get into sessions and you can still make markups. So I don't know where this comes from right here.
I don't know.
It's markup editor, collaborate in real time with markup tools on drawings and documents. Because you have Access Studio. That's it? See, they made this markup editor. Is that what they're calling Cloud? Because that used to stay Cloud.
Yeah.
See, you see that? Like that's the question. What do you mean markup editor?
Yeah.
But and then it says secure cloud document, PDF exports to cloud. Are they changing the name of cloud to markup editor?
I don't know what they're doing, but this sure looks a little
I think that's a marketing slip on the website.
And that bar was hidden, right? And you had to expand it? Oh.
It was out like that.
Editor.
Screenshot.
Right?
I'm just keeping this for my records. I want to have that when it changes out there in the Unbound world. Because I'm almost positive I used to say cloud.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Save and reuse tools from the tool chests. Track and manage markups.
Comment and
Use
reply.
and change markup statuses in the markups list. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe they merged two together.
Yeah. Who knows?
Because I don't see anything in here on Cloud, because Cloud used to have its own.
Mm-hmm.
Now it just has Studio, because you can do whatever.
Yeah.
They don't clearly define Cloud anymore.
But go back to that. What is Bluebeam Cloud? Does it show markup editor in that terminology? No. Markup documents. Okay.
But they don't define Cloud in here anymore. They used to.
You have to go back to a couple episodes back.
Is it because they just define it as part of the solution? Nope, they define it here. All plans include review windows and Bluebeam Cloud on the web and mobile. So maybe everything just, they didn't want to define it because it is this part of the solution now. I don't know. Weird.
Weird. Okay. So hopefully this put some clarity between the differences, and hopefully it answered some questions with Bluebeam Studio and Bluebeam Studio Prime. Because I know it's confusing, and I know a lot of folks out there are like, uh-oh, what does this mean? Or worse is getting the terminology mixed. Like I said, my brain will shut up. If you say Bluebeam Studio, I assume Bluebeam Studio. I'm not listening for you to say Prime after it. So, I mean, that's where it has caused some panic, because we rely on Studio every day here at ATG. We're working with our clients. We use it all the time. We love it. If that were to go away, it would drastically hinder our workflows here. And I can't imagine what all y'all are using it for, right? So Bluebeam Studio is not going anywhere as far as we know. Best of our ability. Do not hold us to anything. We aren't Bluebeam. We don't represent Bluebeam. We're just a Bluebeam Sapphire partner. I don't know if we talked about that.
I think we did. We announced it.
We don't, big fat hashtag, thoughts and comments mentioned here are not affiliated, blah, 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 blah. Right? Yeah. Put your comment disclaimer there. But Bluebeam Studio Prime, if you have that, you will know it is a very large line item in your subscription software list. That is something that you need to think about.
Yep.
If you have any questions about what to do or what's coming, we'll do our best to answer them. You know, if you've got a big account with us here and you're trying to figure it out, you know, what does this mean? By all means, reach out to your sales rep and we can have that conversation for you. But, you know, doing episodes like this are just to help future you.
Future you, and extend the reach of what people are doing for making a decision. So there's two parts to this series. Maybe we'll have Justin edit that whenever we jump into the or the web-based one where we're comparing. That'd be great to be able to send to folks. But again, we're always here to help and push the boundaries leading up to Unbound of what we're able to talk about and share with you all. So if you have any questions, again, like Jason was saying, feel free to reach out to us on the LinkedIn. But until next time, as always, bring your questions. We'll see you all next week, right? You're not out yet. We have a whole month. Okay. Yep. So we still have a whole month left of Jason before he's on a sabbatical. But until next time, we'll see you all next week.
All right, take care, everybody.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.